We are back with another mock draft Monday, and Matt is in the hot seat with a team that he claims is the best ever. So let's see it.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I'm Dominick Martino here, as always, with Matthew Ahne, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day. Matt and I are longtime fantasy baseball analysts, and between the two of us, there's over 40 years of fantasy baseball knowledge, and we do this podcast to share it with you. Wherever you watch and or listen, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. It truly helps to grow the podcast, and we truly do appreciate it this time of year. And I mentioned it up top, Mock Draft Monday. Matt did a 12-team, 5x5 head-to-head category mock draft, which we normally do around here on Mock Draft Mondays. And Matt has a big, bold claim. He's saying that this is one of the best mock drafts that he's seen. I got to agree. It's pretty good. But I don't know if it's, better than some of the ones I've done. But, Matt, listen, tell us why your claim is what it is. Let's hear it.
All right. So, straight up, I said it's the best of the two of us this offseason. Just saying.
Fair enough. That is what he said.
Anyway, if you're watching on the tubes, I'm going to display it up on the screen. And I'm going to read off the roster, and then we'll pretty much just roll from there, right? So at catcher, I got Carter Jensen, Vinnie Pasquantino at first, Jose Altuve at second, Gunnar Henderson at short, Noelvi Marte at third. My outfielders are James Wood, Ronald Acuña, and Roman Anthony. I got my UTs at Luis Robert Jr., Spencer Torkelson. My pitching looks like Hunter Greene, George Kirby, Ryan Walker, Jeff Hoffman as my two closers. Chase Burns, Tyler Glasnow, Andrew Abbott, and Shane McClanahan. And then my bench is looking real nice. Chris Bubick, Dylan Cruz, Ezekiel Tovar, Connelly Early, and Ryan Weathers. It is wonderful. I will tell you that. So, honestly, I actually had a really good draft, in my opinion. I got to say, look, it was picking out of the 7 hole. It was real interesting, and I had a lot of tough choices to go with. And I opened up, I think, with probably the most risky pick. In all honesty, Ronald Acuña is my OF1, especially when, you had guys like Kyle Tucker, Julio Rodriguez, and, Fernando Tatis at the outfield position going later. I could even went with like a Ellie De La Cruz, right? There was options there. But you know what? I'm looking at Ronald Acuña, and I'm like, well, I think this is, based off his performance last year with the power numbers, if he gets about 15 stolen bases, but hits me 40 home runs and hits the average and does what I think he does in the runs and rated B's category, he's going to be just fine and still a first round talent and get me that return on pick right there. So I'm like, cool, bet, got it. And, if he has any stolen base upside any higher than 15, I'm really happy. But I followed it up. I did my, essentially, I got 3 outfielders in the first 5 rounds. I got Gunnar Henderson in the second round, which was really nice and smooth. I actually really was like, yo, bet he's there. That's easy. Got, honestly, I think the 3rd best shortstop in the game. He should really be a first round pick. But because of last year, he's fallen, and I'm good with it. Then I got James Wood in the 3rd, which was stellar. Steals bases, home runs, average runs, ribbies, great. And then got my first pitcher in Hunter Greene. It was nice. I feel like, a lot of talent went ahead of him, but I was really happy with the outcome. I would have preferred Cole Riggins, who would have went a couple picks before him, but ultimately getting Hunter Greene, I'm not mad at him as SB7. Followed that up with Roman Anthony in the 5th. I got 3 outfielders in the first 5 rounds. And honestly, I think I did a great job. All 3 are elite. And honestly, I have all 3 in my top 12, which makes things a lot better. I got 3 top 12 outfielders, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm an analyst, so it's my opinion. Ultimately, between Roman Anthony, James Wood, they should be able to pick up the slack in the stolen base categories. Then you keep going, and this is where I really start doing the work. George Kirby's available in the 6th yet. because I really feel like I just walked away with a studly SP2, and I couldn't pass on that value. And then boom, Vinnie Pasquantino. I grab honestly the first baseman that honestly I feel like is where like I kind of have some sureness in, right? Like, okay, he's going to perform. All the other first basemans after him have a lot of question marks. I could poke holes in. I do like Michael Bush. I like others that go, but ultimately, me snagging Vinnie Pasquantino in this round, I think is a solid move. I know he's got power. I know he's going to get ribs. I know he's going to do exactly what I need him to do. And I'm like, bet the team is rolling. Then I snag Jose Altuve, which is a steal in the 8th round. Altuve still had a good season. I don't care about the age. He's still a great player. I hate the Houston Astros, but that's another story. But I feel like he's still a solid second baseman, better than most. And honestly, this is a great value. I'm able to get a quality guy I think I could count on that's going to outperform other names like Ozzy Albies and whatnot. So I'm really confident in him. And then you keep going, and then boom, Tyler Glass now as essentially my SP3. And I'm like, bet this is I get a high strikeout upside, even though he's in the 6-man rotation. And I like the 6-man rotation for him as well. He's another guy that literally can't stay healthy. The wind blows in a certain direction, and boom, he's on the IL. So I like the fact that the 6-man rotation should protect him a little bit. He's going to get a boatload of strikeouts, and he plays for the Dodgers. He's going to get wins. Like, even though it might humanize him a hair, if he gets 160 innings, I wouldn't be surprised if he has 195 strikeouts or even 200 because he's that good and efficient at striking players out. And then on top of that, the ERA is going to be fine as long as he's on that mound, and the wins are going to come. It's the Dodgers. So great. Then I follow that up with Chase Burns, Dom's boy. We all know how Dom feels about Chase Burns.
Yeah, that's always your best pick of the draft, brother.
I love Chase Burns. I have him as an SP2 as well. So I prioritize some solid, pitching early along with some really studly outfield. Got the scarce, and that is kind of the point of my strategy going into the draft is getting the scarcity filled up, right? So outfield talent drop off really falls off once you really get to right, like I say, midway through tier 2. Honestly, SP, same kind of thing. So you really just got to grab your guys. And then I got the scarcity at second base. And that was another one. Like, second base is real rough this year. So ultimately, like any position that really is hard to snag, I grabbed it early and I got depth real early. The one thing you didn't see me grab was RPs. And there's a reason for it. I do it later. And that's kind of how I approach catchers and I approach relief pitchers. You get them later. And you see it because in the next round, right after I pick Chase Burns, I get Jeff Hoffman. Yes, his ERA was nowhere near where it should have been, but saves are going to come. He has job security in Toronto. And all I want is a repeat. And all I care about a closer for is saves. That is the key part. If he's going to get me 30 saves, I'm going to be happy. So that job just needs to stay his, and I'm going to be happy. I got Ryan Walker as my second RP. I got him much later, but we'll get into that. I got Luis Robert in the 12th, which honestly, this may be the most dangerous pick of my whole draft. But he's my UT guy, not my starting outfield, my 4th outfielder. And I could always find a UT on there, but I mean, Luis Robert, we've seen it. 38 home run season, 30 stolen bases almost last year. And he was playing for the White Sox. Now he goes over to the Mets. Things are better. He should feel more enticed to play. If he bats 250, gets 30 home runs, and gets at least 20 stolen bases, which 20 stolen bases is like, I don't know, waking up and getting out of bed in the morning for Luis Robert, that should be easy. And then the runs and ribs should significantly be better just because he's on the Mets. The upside is there for him, and he's my UT. Then I got Spencer Torkelson for the power. I think I got that covered. Who I picked up a couple rounds later. I got Noelvi Marte, which is probably my roughest position at third base. Probably the scariest, but at some point you got to make a decision. Jordan Westberg, I probably would have picked earlier, but he's dealing with Tommy Johns, honestly. It's probably going to be the reality. He's probably not going to play this year. Picked up Andrew Abbott. Then I picked up Ryan Walker, then Torque. Then Shane McClanahan. Also, don't sleep on Andrew Abbott. Chris Bubick, another guy, young, still got it. Dylan Cruz, Ezekiel Tovar got the depth at outfield. And I got another shortstop just in case. Connor Early. We'll talk about him later in the show. Then got my catcher in the second to last round. And then my sleeper of the year, Ryan Weathers, going to be a stud this year for the Yanks all day. And now you'll have to wait for Dom's response coming up right after this. Wrong button.
And all right, folks, real quick, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Listen, college basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts. There's always some action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn energy to even into bigger potential with wins. You're going to have a college basketball parlay profit boost that you're not going to want to miss out on. You can build any college hoops parlay you want with rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits may read, right? You can mix spreads, totals, player props to match, how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the profit boost that I was talking about earlier and instantly bump up the potential payout. Look at the odds around your team if they are in season. Go safe, go bold. Ride with your team, you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, now with more upside behind it. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Play your game. And guys, listen, hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job, right? It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of, hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match it with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I was hiring personally, I just wouldn't want someone who could help, right? I want someone with real experience who could jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You get specific targets and exactly, what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And, here's a stat that's going to say it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. And guys, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. This week only, you can use the code SPRING for a free month. Tap the link in the show notes for more. And all right, Matt, if you are, good, I'm going to jump in here. And I'm going to give my little take here on your draft. I do have to be, brutally honest up at the top. It's a really good team. We do a lot of, back and forth around here, especially when it comes to the mock drafts. But Matt, if you want to throw the team up on the tubes for the people, it's a solid team. And I have to give you credit where it's due. The first 10 picks of this draft were pretty much almost perfect in my in my opinion. You go, once again, I'm gonna read it off. You go Acuña, Gunnar, Henderson, James Wood, Hunter Greene, Roman Anthony, George Kirby. Let's talk about the first 6. As you said, 3 outfielders in the first 5. That's how you want to do it this year. in a 12-man league, if you don't have 3 outfielders by the first 5 rounds being over, you're probably not going to be in a great spot. You're probably going to have to make up for it a little bit later, and Matt, you played that perfectly well. You got your SP1 in Hunter Greene, whom I believe in Hunter Greene this year. I have Hunter Greene personally at 7, so I think that's a great SP1. I have George Kirby inside my top 12 as well, so you got 2 SP1s pretty much there. If Kirby can live up to the hype we expect from him. Vinnie P, they moved the wall in a little bit in Kauffman Stadium. I don't know if a lot of people know about that. I think he's going to head for more power this year. I think Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, the rest of the boys, you're going to see a little bit more power out of them KC boys. So Vinnie P, he's going to be in for another great year. Good pick at first base. Altuve, I like. I'm not in love with, but I still think it's a great pick at second base, which is one of the weakest positions this year. We could talk about Gunnar Henderson, but Gunnar Henderson's great. Not really too much to say about him. Glass now, I think he winds up being your 4 and Chase Burns winds up being your 3. So that winds up working out perfectly. You just, you play the draft board, right? You give what the draft board takes you. And just because you have things ranked a certain way, Matt played that perfectly because he was smart enough to see like, hey, I could wait that extra round and get Chase Burns too. And just that's how you do that, right? Here's where we start to have a little bit of our disagreements. I really don't like your closer situation. I have Jeff Hoffman ranked as my 17th closer and I have Ryan Walker as my 19th closer. So I think you could have done a little bit better there. But then again, where are we sacrificing, to get a better closer? You have great upside with Hoffman. I just don't necessarily know if the ERA is going to be great. You talked about that earlier, but has a great potential for 30-plus saves with this Blue Jays team. Luis Robert, great pick. I love him with the Mets. I honestly hope he gets his career back on track, so I'm not mad at that. Noelvi Marte, potential breakout this year. We've talked about him on this podcast before on that Reds team. He's going to be really good. Andrew Abbott, your pitching's already really good. I like Abbott. He's going to be a good SP5. I'm definitely not worried about him there. Ryan Walker, let's see how things go with him, taking back over there in San Francisco. He had a mediocre year last year at best, so we'll see how it goes. Spencer Torkelson, I love taking him as my utility. I think we got to do a Spencer Torkelson rule now too with the Austin Riley rule.
Probably.
We've both taken, I think, Spencer Torkelson in every mock draft we've done this offseason, but that just means you guys should heavily target him because he's going to be great with that Tigers team. McClanahan and Bubic, great picks there. I love the both of them. They're going to be very, very good this year. Let's just hope McClanahan can stay healthy. But at this price, you just need him to give you a little bit of something, and the upside could be great. Matt and I have disagreed on Dylan Cruz a bunch on this podcast. I mean, he has the prospects potential, and he's going to give you speed. I don't know how much more he gives you. I will say this, Matt. Somebody who went right after Dylan Cruz is Jorge Polanco. I think he even could have done that just for the versatility. He gives you second and third. And you have 4 good outfielders with Luis Robert. Maybe you, even with Caballero goes around later, give you that second short third outfield over maybe a Dylan Cruz because, maybe Altuve is getting old, he gets hurt. But I do love Ezequiel Tovar. Ezequiel Tovar is going to be fantastic. Connelly early, let's see if he gets the job, out of spring training. I don't know what Boston's going to do there. Obviously, it's Crochet, Suarez, Gray, Bayo. They did sign Johan Oviedo. You got Peyton Tolley. There's one other guy over there too. I can't remember who it is, but there's somebody else in the mix for that 5th starting pitcher job. Not a bad option if he gets the job. I like Ryan Weathers there in New York now with our Yankees. Obviously, he's got that big fastball. Just somebody who has to stay healthy. Let's see how it goes. He looks so good. He's looked good so far in spring training. I watched one of his starts where he had a bunch of strikeouts and he looked really good. Matt, if I had to give you a grade on it, honestly, I can't go anything worse than like an A-. Just maybe a little bit better closers, but that's tough to do with the build that you went for. Maybe a little bit of second base or third base backup on your bench. But otherwise, very good job, brother. I really can't hate too much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Very welcome.
All right. And coming up next, Dom and I are going to be breaking down kind of like my late end pickers. I feel my picks that I made of, these are guys that we're pretty much targeting at the end. And I think we need to cover some of these guys coming up right after this. And okay. Here we go. There we go. There it is. Hey, I am thrilled to be talking about our sponsor, MLB The Show 26. The greatest game in baseball is back with its newest installment. Base going to have a hard time pulling themselves away from the game. My favorite game mode is the My Career, creating my own player and growing as the MLB player start to finish. It's a true way to get the full in-game experience. Best for if you're a gamer and a baseball fan, or just want to enjoy America's favorite pastime in the newest exciting way. You're going to love MLB The Show 26. Play as your favorite team and franchise player and see if you have what it takes to win a World Series. Visit MLB The Show, MLB dot the dot MLB the dot show/locked on and use the code locked on to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Pre-order now. Available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated for everyone. Available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. And all right. So we're back in it. And you know what? I want to go over my bench because I actually feel like there's quite a few guys Dom and I need to talk about. Like, for instance, we haven't really talked about some of these guys like Connell Early and Ryan Weathers. I'm going to start with Ryan Weathers. Ryan Weathers has looked like a whole new pitcher out there. I mean, I saw start like spots of it the previous year, but man, does he look awesome. Like spring training, pitches look good, fastball looks freaking monstrous, and he's so cheap. You gotta just see where this journey takes you. If anything, he was my last pick of the draft. You drop him, and who cares, right? You might as well give it a shot. These are picks that will literally the scratch offs might pay off, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. Who cares? But I think this is a scratch off that you might be starting him all year long. Do you agree, Dom?
Yeah, I like Ryan Weathers a lot, and like you said, the price that we're paying for him. I'll say this though, and Matt, you know this: if he just keeps going out there and dominating in spring training, the price is going to come up. And by the time we're drafting, like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, and most of us will be drafting, Matt. What did you get him as your SP7 or 8?
Yeah.
That moves up to like your SP6 or 5. And not that I dislike that price because that's still decent for a guy like Ryan Weathers who's only 26. Good fastball. The thing is with this fastball, it's good. Sometimes it's just flat and inconsistent. And that's why batters hit. I believe it was like I had it pulled up. I stepped away from it. 260 against his fastball in 25, and hit 313 against his fastball in 24. And it looked better last year where the expected batting average was 254, but the expected batting average in 2024 was 290. So he's working on things and getting in the right direction. As Matt said, we watched some of the spring training stuff for Weathers, and he looks improved, looks, ready to go. I think the Yankees may have tapped into that potential that we've already seen. So that's a great pick there too. Matt, I know you wanted to talk about Connelly earlier. You want to get into him a little bit?
Yeah. So Connelly Early has just looked really good. This spring. He's a good pitcher. I've liked him, and you know what? We got to see a little bit of him, essentially last year. But let's talk about what he's doing just in the spring training. Like, I mean, it's looking really nice. Like, I mean, yeah, the ERA got to hit around a little bit, but the stuff looks good, like really good. Pitched about 4 innings, got about 4 strikeouts, 3.86 ERA, which I believe will come down. The whips at an 8.5. Like, I think it's real solid there. You look at what he did last year when he got the call. He had a 2.33 ERA through 19 innings, 29 strikeouts, a whip of 108, playing for the Boston Red Sox. Like, again, another last couple round picks, a guy that I honestly feel like kind of got swept completely under the rug last year and was completely forgotten about, that I don't feel like is being talked about as a guy that could possibly be another nice little scratch off you're getting at the end of your drafts that has some true upside. That Boston team looks good. And if Early can hit on on just what he started with last year and then picks up right where he left off, I think that we're going to see a lot. I mean, if you're not familiar even with his minor league career, shoot, last year, 100 innings in the minors, he had 100 innings, 132 strikeouts, a 260 ERA with a 110 whip. Looks great. Year before that, again, another 103 innings, 138 strikeouts. ERA was much higher, obviously, but the upside for strikeout is there. If the ERA even finishes as 3.5, 3.65, you're not really mad at that. And if he doesn't hit, who cares? One of your last picks, you could always find a streaming pitcher. But he could be another scratch off that might make up for the Shane McClanahan not performing or even not making the mound. A guy going down early like a Tyler Glasnow. These are the picks that could be the difference maker of winning your leagues.
Yeah, man. Well said with early. I like that his main three pitches, the fastball, curveball, changeup combo. He got good results on all three pitches when he got called up to the bigs last year, and actually outperformed his teammate Peyton Tolley, who was the higher end prospect than early at the end of the season down the stretch, and he's outperforming him in spring training so far. I really think the only thing in Early's way to make the rotation out of spring is going to be Johan Oviedo, who the Red Sox signed in the offseason, the 27-year-old who had a decent season last year with the Pirates. So we'll see. We'll see how things go and what the Red Sox want to do. But Matt, as you said, you can't go wrong in the last pick of your draft with a young prospect who showed the pedigree in the minors and is having a good spring training so far. There's not much you can really argue about. One person I will talk about here, I know we've talked about him a little bit this offseason, but I saw Matt, it looks like you're jumping on the bandwagon with me with Carter Jensen of the Kansas City Royals. High-end prospect, hit 300 down the stretch last year for the Royals. I talked about how they're moving the wall in Kauffman Stadium down over there, so another big guy who could hit for power could potentially be 25, 30 home runs, 260, 270 batting average from the young catcher. Matt, you agree with the kind of projection like that on a young Carter Jensen here?
I do. And he's another one that okay, he reminds me of Langeliers, like the opportunity, the price, and I think like the pre-breakout that everybody's kind of like overlooking at catcher. We're like, okay, cool. The upside is truly, and I like that Royals team. And then this is the best part, guys. Out of all the catchers that are available in your top 10, top 12, top 14, they all have the ability to flop, not play every day, not produce. Carter Jensen, there is no obstacle for playing time. It's just a matter of performance. But, same outcome for like Gabriel Moreno that could take a poop. I'm all about Carter Jensen this year of just full on breakout and probably another catcher advantage that you're not even paying relatively any cost for.
I got Jensen up to my catcher 8, and then but I will preface this. The thing is like I talked about how Matt did with Glasnow and Chase Burns. We might have a guy like Chase Burns ranked higher than Glasnow, but the thing is just knowing where you have to draft these guys. I don't think necessarily in your home league you have to overpay for a Carter Jensen. But if you're going into, like, if everyone is competitive in your league and everyone listens to Locked On Fantasy Baseball in your home league, you might have to go a little bit earlier on a Carter Jensen. It's just a big thing about any fantasy sport, especially baseball, is knowing your competition and having an idea or an ability on how to read a room and kind of just see, hey, are these guys picking trendy industry names, or are you going to be able to wait on a Carter Jensen? It's just being able to do something like that. But I have Carter Jensen high in my catcher rankings. Matt, anybody else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I just want to say, remember Chris Bubick? I mean, he's healthy. He had a great year. He's still young, which is kind of wild too. And I think that we're about where I think he might pick up right where he left off. Spring training will tell. But he's a guy, if I'm drafting today, I'm going to take a shot on, because even if I get a 75% output of what I got from him in 25, you struck gold. So Bubick is a guy you also don't want to forget about.
Matt, yeah, one thing I want to jump in, and we probably should have mentioned this earlier. I mean, he's not really on today's episode, but Joe Ryan, back injury. He's not going to compete in the World Baseball Classic for Team USA. Keep an eye on that situation as that develops for the Minnesota Twins. Starting pitcher Joe Ryan, I've officially moved him outside of my SP2 range. That's going to be a dangerous pick. I had him borderline SP1. But Matt, I'll get us out of here if you're good.
Yeah, do it.
All right, guys. Just want to say thanks for tuning in and making Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your first listen each and every day, and making Locked On Fantasy Baseball #1 sports podcast network. Matt and I have a lot of good episodes coming up this week. I think we're going to sneak in bold predictions at the end of the week. A lot more fun stuff like that you're going to want to make sure you're locked on. We're available on any social media platform, anywhere you can watch or listen to podcasts. You can find us there. For those of you on video, we send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On MLB. But guys, until next time, see ya.